What is going on, soccer fans? Welcome to the third episode of the Soccer Shots Greater Hartford, Central Connecticut podcast. My name is Seth Walerziak, and this is my co-host, Shannon Perry, who is the owner of the Greater Hartford, Central Connecticut Soccer Shots franchise. Shannon, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Seth. How are you? I'm just still getting over the excitement of yesterday's Barcelona Inter match.
I know that was crazy, absolutely crazy.
Soccer at its best. It reminded me of a couple of U4 teams we've got running, but it was outstanding stuff.
Yes, no, that was a great game to see in the Champions League. Hopefully today's PSG Arsenal game can live up to that hype as well. It's always great to see really good soccer. It's always nice to see. So, and yeah, I'm doing well too. Thanks for asking. Beautiful day out, can't complain. So, yeah, what I did want to ask you about was, what did you think about our episode 2 podcast with Coach Pete? What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. For Pete, who's been with us for a couple of years, and it was really neat to hear his perspective and just how he's received by the kids. And in fact, he's got a nickname, Coach Peach,
Yes,
which we learned about. But
Yep.
Just kind of his love of children in the game, and soccer shots is not something he has to do, but he loves
Right.
it. And I think he brings that joy to sessions, and he's just a lot of fun. He's a fun individual, and I'm just sorry we couldn't hear about his track days at Central, and why that career ended.
Yeah, right. No, listen, I completely agree with everything you said. I love Coach Pete. He's easily one of our best coaches. Really good with the kids, loves the game, loves working with the kids, and it was really great to hear from him and see his insight on about soccer shots. So that was really cool.
And he's one who gives so much back to the new coaches. He's always ready to help out and loves helping them out too. So he truly treasures the role he has, but also understands the role that other coaches have, and he seems like he looks to impact our coaches as much as he does the kids. So we need more Coach Peaches. We need
Yes.
Peach cobblers and peach street farms and the whole bit.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I could not agree more with that. So, as everyone knows, that was our second episode with Coach Pete, which was fantastic. It is still up on our YouTube channel, so if you have not, please go back and give it a watch. It was a great episode with the two of us and Coach Pete. But as you guys can see from today's title in the video, we are going to be talking about building confidence through soccer. I have a list of questions here for Shannon, but I will also be contributing my takes on these questions as well. These questions are going to be, basically all about how soccer can help build confidence in our youth and how we at Soccer Shots really do a great job in doing this. So without further ado, Shannon, you ready to get into it?
Absolutely, Seth. Great topic. I'm glad you chose this one.
Yes, I'm very excited for this one. Let's get into it with the first question. So, Shannon, what does confidence mean to a young soccer player, and how do you see it develop over a Soccer Shot season?
I assume you mean like a 4-year-old player, because I'm not a young player anymore.
Yes.
It's I hate to give the vague answer that it depends on the kid, but it really does. I think just simply put, confidence is believing that you can do things even when they might not be easy to start. So how it develops over season, I always find fascinating, as it's different kids develop it in different ways. for one kid, it might be they're just very shy to come out onto Soccer Island and meet a coach, and that's where we're trying to get them to have confidence. And then by week 2, week 3, session 3, they become a little more confident in just doing that. And for another one, it might be just having confidence in a particular skill, or having confidence in just being able to dribble a ball. And it's always fascinating to see how it develops throughout the season. I sometimes wish I could have a group of kids on the first week and not see them, and then come back and see them at the end of the season and remark on the difference. But I think, to a young soccer player, it's that moment where it's that belief that they have in being able to do something, and being proud that they can do it, and that they overcame something. It's the kid who, I can't do it, and then later, that's easy, I can already do that. What else can you give me? So
right. Yep.
Yeah. And I think for kids and adults, right, confidence comes through challenge and some difficulty. You give something easy to do with no very enough challenge, they're not really gaining confidence in handling appropriate challenge. So yeah.
No, that was a great take on it. I completely agree with that. I think, like you were saying in the beginning, I really think confidence, it means a different thing for every kid. It's very different. Like you said, for some kids, it might, just be dribbling that soccer ball, being able to do control, being able to do a pullback. But for some kids, it might be even a bigger thing for them, as in like just showing up to a Soccer Shots session with a bunch of kids who they've never met before, being able to participate in a team setting. That can also be a confidence issue for many different kids, and that can be an important issue for them, rather than actually doing the skill of the day, or a fun game, or even just scoring a goal. So I really liked your take on it. I agree with it. I think it just means something different for each kid. And kind of how you were saying, how it develops like over a season. I just think the more they continue to show up, the more comfortable they get with their friends and teammates, and of course us as coaches. The more they get comfortable with us, their confidence is just going to continue to grow. It's just it's kind of like, I kind of look at it as like reps for the kids, like how we look at it for reps for coaches. Like a coach is always going to be nervous starting out, not very confident, but the more reps you give them, like the more confident they're going to be in themselves. And it's kind of the same thing with the kids. The more times they show up to practice, their sessions, they're going to get more comfortable, more confident in everything. And I think that's really important. So
yeah, it's just listening. You said it. The word that kept coming to me was fear, and confronting some sort of fear and overcoming that fear, whether that's the fear of coming to Soccer Island, right? You're facing that fear. You come on, that fear that you're going to miss a goal.
For sure.
That fear of failure. So
fear of failure.
Yeah, giving kids the courage to confront that fear, even those small fears. You can even think of that as adults. You always hear about public speaking, the fear of public speaking.
Right.
And then you go out and you do it, and the more you do it, it doesn't become a fear anymore. So when I look at so many kids, and the shyness, we talk about that a lot, but that's often where we see that fear, that lack of confidence manifests itself. They're shy, or they're scared, and even scared to try something.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Definitely that fear factor, shyness. You can see that in a lot of kids in the beginning, because they've just never done anything like this before. They're not used to it. But I think we at Soccer Shots, we do a great job getting them more and more comfortable and more and more acclimated with a team sport setting, and just being around others. So I think that's great. I love that answer. But let's move on to the second question now. So Shannon, can you share a moment where you saw a shy or hesitant kid come out of their shell through soccer?
Oh yeah, one sticks out in particular, and oh gosh, it's probably at least 10 years ago. But there was a young girl, if you're listening out there, Ellison. Ellison came to soccer every week, and sat there and literally just watched every single session. And I would do, all the tricks to try and get her out. It became this funny little power struggle. She was not going to come out. She just watched. And I thought, well, if the other kids are having fun, then she'll come out. Teacher sat with her. And this went on for 8 or 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Never came out the entire season. I actually talked to the family. I said, hey, feel like, if it's not okay, or for her, she can sign up next time. She said, nope, she likes going. She just wants to watch. Well, sure enough, the next season comes along, and she went from, I don't know, 3.5 to 4. Completely different kid. Completely different kid. I'm going to guess she's playing on some, travel player team or something. Energetic, right. Confident, talking all the time. And I just want to know what happened to the old Ellison, because who was this new Ellison? But it was. I always think about, because that was the longest. Someone literally came every single time, and then it took them a whole season to be confident. And I thought the parents, in a way, the message was they weren't going to pull her out, but she could participate how she wanted to participate. And participating for her was sitting on the side and then she was a part of it. But imagine the message, well, we're going to pull you out. That might have been a message of failure. And she'll never play soccer again, but she learned the whole season. But yeah, I'll never forget that for a lot of reasons, because as a coach, I'm like, I could get any kid out here. And this kid, she was not going to come out. So she was stubborn and strong. And I should have seen those things in her as a soccer player. But yeah, that one sticks out. And there are so many other, there's the story of one young boy who literally sat in the car, would sit in the car on a Saturday morning and didn't come out until about the 3rd or 4th week. And, then he finally came out. And then you hear stories of, I've got oodles, as you know, Seth. I've got oodles of stories about, they're trying to score a goal and they go really slow, and they don't want anyone to cheer for them or applaud for them. And then by the end of the season, they want to know, when is their chance to score a goal. But there are so many of those each week, and I think it's our job as coaches at any level is to recognize where they are and where can we give them that confidence to take that next step in where they are, and create victories for them. See the challenges and help them create their own victories. And when they start creating victories, they're more confident for them. Then they want the challenge. They want the next thing. But yeah, I'll never forget Ellison. That was an amazing story there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I have a story too. I'd like to share about that as well. It's actually it's a kid I have right now. And great kid. This is the second season I'm having him. I'll just say his first name. But his name is Mason, and this kid was with me in the fall, and I felt really bad for him. He was really struggling. He was the only kid to have his parent with him, like kind of holding his hand, like and this is a classic session, kind of holding his hand through the session. He didn't really like to participate, didn't really have the soccer ball, and he just very, very shy, very shy. Didn't really want to participate in the fun games or anything like that. And I would always try and do my best to just, get him involved, help him out, but he just didn't really want to participate. Would sometimes, like, cry and run off to the side, whatever. And I always felt really bad. But right now I have him again in the spring, and he has turned a new leaf. I mean, he is out there, energetic. He's on the field. He's scoring goals. He's got the soccer ball with it. Like, his mom's not with him. Not like it. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, are you the same Mason? I couldn't. So that was really cool to see. That's something I'll never forget, and I'm really looking forward to see how he closes out the rest of this season. It's going to be really cool to see. So that made me really happy to see that he something over the winter or something like he must have done, like, really just got him out of that shell, and was really cool. So yeah, that was definitely my my moment where
That's
a
awesome.
shy kid definitely came out of his shell, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, yeah, it's some of the funnest part of coaching, right? And when you see them come out, it's almost like seeing a rose bloom, and they come out and they flower. And just listening to that story just made me think of some other stories. But
Yeah.
as coaches, right? We try so hard. We don't want to kill confidence, but we can by not giving it, right? So,
Right.
rather than saying you're doing it wrong or whatever, kind of showing them the right way. So if we can give confidence, then, or at least try to give confidence and create that environment, we can create more of those scenarios. I mean, that's a credit to you as a coach. And I was just at a session. Actually, this is a story today. I was at the eye doctor, and I had on my Soccer Shots stuff, and woman comes up to me and she goes, "What do you do for Soccer Shots?" And I said, "Well, depends on who's asking." So,
Yeah.
it led to a little chat. Her son does it on Simsbury, and her son is Coach Diego. And she said,
There we
he didn't
go.
want to come, but he was with Coach Diego, and I was with Coach Diego again. He just loves coming, and he's now all he does is play at home and all this kind of thing. So uh, those stories when they want to show that they can do things, and they get to a point where they want to show what they can do. Then you've given them some confidence, right? And
Yeah.
when they get bored, and then they want to show you something else that they can do. So yeah, that's cool. That's a great story about Mason.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I completely agree with that. But now let's move on to that third question here. So Shannon, how would you say how does making mistakes on the field or on Soccer Island help kids grow their confidence instead of damaging it?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Again, I think there's some video that's going around about a soccer coach who is talking to kids, and he doesn't let his kids say sorry when they do a bad pass. They can't say I'm sorry, because that means they'll stop taking risks. And when they stop taking risks, they won't get better and have confidence. And I found that interesting. And mistakes are those opportunities. If they're not making mistakes, we don't know where to coach them. And
Right.
so, if you can, when they're making mistakes, really, I try not to say you're making a mistake, but how can you do it better? So if you're kicking the ball this way with your toe, and it's going all over the place, would you like to kick it straight? Here's how you can kick it straight. Why do
Yeah.
you want to kick it
Right.
straight? Now you're a better soccer player. So, turning
Yep.
those mistakes into those teachable moments,
Exactly.
helps the kids
Exactly.
grow their and then if your kid, oh wow, they think all they have is toes, and then when kids realize they have all these different parts of their feet, how exciting is that? Then yeah, you got this part of the foot. Now, obviously, we all joke around when they get the inside or outside of their foot wrong, but they start even thinking about other parts of their foot when you show
Yeah.
them, and that can all start from a mistake.
Yep. Yeah. No, I like that a lot. I honestly think I think making mistakes is actually key to building confidence. And I think it allows that's where the our strong coaching abilities come into play there, because what I mean by it being like a strong factor to building confidence is, so let's say you're on Soccer Island and the that kid is struggling to do a pullback or something, a step over, whatever you want it to be. They're going to be very frustrated, especially if they see their friends, teammates easily doing it. But you as a coach, if you step in, you help them, you get down on their level, and you work with them until they get it. Um, and then once they do get it, I've seen this so many times. So from my own experience, so many times where you help that kid, even if you're just focusing on that one kid for like an extra minute, like just because they needed a little bit more help, which is totally fine. And you focus on that one kid and you help them and they get it when they get it, and then you applaud them, you high five, fist bump, they get so excited. At least that's what I've noticed. They get so happy. They're like, oh my, they're like, oh my gosh, I did it. And then the following week they'll come back and they'll be like, Coach Seth, look, I can do this pullback. And to me, that's a big confidence builder right there. That really, like, they just went from being upset, not maybe even nervous, not being able to do this skill, to now they can do it and they're really happy about it, and that is going to get them confidence towards, or build them more confidence towards, like doing other skills or anything else we do on Soccer Island. So I think mistakes can be really key in confidence building.
That's such a great example, and you hit something hugely important. Is that rewarding at the end, and
Yeah. Yep.
taking that mistake and then turning it into a reward at the end. Um, whether it's that high five or way to go or what have you, then
Yeah.
they're seeking out those opportunities, right?
Yep.
And
Mhm.
it, you know, there's no greater feeling than feeling like you can't do something, and then realizing that you can do something. Whether that's me building an IKEA cabinet, and I'm swearing I can't build this thing, and then it gets built. And
Yeah.
I had a boss once in life who, great boss, at least his message stuck out to me. He's performed. He said, if you're not making mistakes, you're not working. And I said, that was so freeing.
Right.
You're not working, you're not learning anything.
Yeah.
Um, and I think you can see it in kids now. They're so um, some of them are, some are wired that way or what have you, but they're just afraid to do something wrong. And this is the
Right.
age, and practice at any level. Practice is the time to make those mistakes and figure things out. So, but I love the reward aspect, of doing that. Yeah, I'm not going to give you a high five for kicking it 8 million miles the wrong way, but I will give you a high five for doing that pullback. And
Right.
and then what you mentioned around the pullback, right? So the progression, the first achievement is doing the pullback, right? And we all see this: the kid pulls it back and they pull it back 20 yards.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's
Yeah.
great. You're happy they did. Now, can you pull back just a little gently so you can keep it close to you, and then the step, all those kinds of progressions. But then they're starving to learn. They want to do other
Yeah.
things, and the flip side is that when you see those kids get confident, I've already know this, right? So
Yeah.
that's a great thing, because then you start looking for other things. But yeah,
Exactly.
this is a great topic. Yeah.
Yes, yes. No, I completely agree with that. That was awesome. So let's move on to our fourth question, um, which is, in what ways does teamwork on Soccer Island translate into better social skills off the field for our kids?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sitting here just thinking of my own experience in soccer and life, right?
Yep.
You, in the soccer shot session, whatever you have, 8, 9, 10, 11 kids, we try to create those situations where they're working together. Um, and, this is one of those first lessons in life that not everybody's the same size. Not everyone is got the same clothes on, but we have the common goal of picking up the cones or getting the ball into the goal. Um, or
Yep.
we all have to listen, otherwise we're not going to be able to play a fun game. And those things translate to life, right? In
Yeah.
terms of working together with people you don't know, and then also cheering. What I love is when kids begin to cheer other kids on, um,
Absolutely. Yep.
and they, you know, realizing how good it feels for them, but realizing they have an opportunity to make someone else feel good when they're doing that. So, and that's one of life's
Yes.
most important lessons there. When we've all been on teams where we didn't like somebody or someone wasn't as good, but focusing on that shared goal at an early age, and recognizing the shared goal, is massive, massive in
Right.
life, and better social skills. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, I completely agree. You said exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna bring up the goal scoring where, yeah, you get one kid goes up at a time, but you have all the other kids cheer on um the soccer friend who's going to score a goal. And it, exactly like you just said, it feels good for the kid going to score the goal, but it also feels good for the kids doing the cheering, because it's implementing in their mind that, oh, this feels really good to like cheer someone up, to like support someone, which can very well be used off the field in just any other settings, whether it's in the classroom, at home, just out in a public space. I also think, like, yeah, other things that we do on Soccer Island kind of show that as well. One that came to mind for me was, if I'm using the tall cones for something, let's say volcanoes or whatever, I always have the kids help me pick them up. I always have them help me pick them up. And um, I always tell them, though, because obviously you'll have the one kid who picks up 10 cones and then everyone else is left with really nothing. So I always tell them, I'm like, guys, you can pick up these cones, but you have to make sure every single friend has a cone. I say that every time. And there's been times where kids will pick up multiple cones, whatever, and there'll be 2 or 3 kids who don't have a cone. And they'll get all upset, and I'll be like, okay, everybody, like, listen. I'll be like, who here is going to share their cones? And they start, they give one cone to another friend, they give a cone to another friend. And I always love to see that as a coach, because I'm like, thank you for sharing, that was very nice of you, good job. Like, so, and that's just another skill that can be used anywhere outside of Soccer Island. Just sharing is always, especially for kids, it can always be a challenge. So I think if we can, as coaches, can help implement that idea into their head, that sharing is very good. It can be very rewarding. Um, and I'm one who believes in good karma too. So I think that is also helpful. But like I was saying before, it can be helpful with uh, at home, in the classroom, and in a public space, like wherever. And I think there's plenty other lessons that we teach on Soccer Island too that I think implement way outside of the island. So
Yeah. 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 I mean, you just got me thinking about a couple of things. Your example there of picking up the cones. I love when kids cheer for other kids. I'll sometimes, who's going to be the loudest cheer, and I love to see kids have that contest. And you see those kids; they don't miss one single kid. Um, or they're waiting to come back through the volcanoes and their first one back. Then the challenge, can you cheer on the rest of your friends until they get back? And always keeping in mind, what we know as players is like, in a soccer game, it's a 90-minute game. How many actual minutes do you have the ball? And then what are you doing in the other, 85 minutes that you don't have a ball in the soccer game?
Right.
Well, we can't explain that to a kid, but there's a whole bunch of other things you can be doing to be a good teammate and a good friend. And at the end of the day, what are we trying to do here is create not just good kids, but that they grow into good adults, or adults who understand shared responsibility and working together, and little ways we can do that along the way and create those habits.
Right.
So that's huge.
No, I completely agree. I thought that was great answers there. So let's move on to our fifth question now. This one might be a little bit of a tough question, but I'm curious to see what you say about this one. So question number 5 here is, how do coaches intentionally build resilience in the players or the kids when things don't go their way, especially on Soccer Island, because we know what that can be like.
When things don't go their way on Soccer Island,
how do we as coaches kind of build that resilience in them, kind of teach them that it's okay, like everything's gonna be okay. It's not the end of the
world. Yeah. There's all kinds of different. I'm just thinking of different examples and different kids where that's probably occurred. There's the classic kid who cannot. It might be younger, has a hard time waiting their turn. So, creating resilience, I guess it's a form of patience and knowing that delayed gratification is going to come. If you wait your turn, we're going to cheer for you louder.
Right.
I intentionally, with impatient kids, I will make them wait till they're last.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
I always do that because I think that's important for kids to learn, at one, how to support other kids. 2, you're not always going to get it when you want it now. And how can you make the environment better around you? You can cheer for your friends, and that can be a fun thing. The other thing is, then you get kids who are, maybe they're better than the other kids, and you see them scoring goal after goal after goal. They're not really learning anything. So stepping in and making it hard for them, on purpose, might be the coach. Inevitably every season there's some kid I've got to take the ball away from because they're good, and I'm getting in, they've got to be Coach Shannon.
I've done that.
And you can, in the scoring a goal thing, right? Some kids just need to have that freedom, open space to go score the goal. But then there's the other kid who you want to make them work for it a little bit, because they know that that how to go sideways or different directions. So you see that, right? Make it a little bit hard for them. And then then they get a little frustrated. You're in my way, Coach Shannon. That's not fair. That's not fair. Right. Inevitably they'll get around. Well, if you hang in there, and you try your best and you work a little bit harder, maybe you'll get it in there. And then they get it in there, and then they're excited, and then they want to do it every week. They want to go one-on-one with you. But getting back how you started this, Seth, which was great, but is resilience is a part of building confidence. So being resilient and is part of being taking on those challenges to gain confidence. So if you have the kid is too easy for them, they're not really gaining confidence. In fact, I would argue they're getting less confident because they're not overcoming things. It's too easy. So that's a tricky thing. And I would say I was looking at your question. To me, it was kind of the hardest question to think about. Intentionally building resilience. But I think those 2 examples come to mind for me. Just teaching them how to wait their turn, And then, bringing challenge, always, or, it's the thing where, you probably have this, right? We get the stamp at the, and they just immediately want 2 stamps. Or I want a stamp, I want a stamp, I want a stamp.
Yeah.
Well, in my situation, you've got to earn your stamp. All right. You'll get one for playing all day. But if you want, back to your example of picking up, if you want help clean up the end, you can earn that second stamp.
Right.
Or you teach them how to make their second stamp, so they understand you're just not getting things to get things.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
No,
that's a great question.
Yeah, no, that was great. I really don't have much to add on to that. You pretty much nailed all the points I was gonna say. The only thing I was gonna say was just kind of an add-on to your point, because it's the one I was thinking about, was like with the goal scoring, for example. Every time I'm like, who's ready to score some goals? Me, 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 hands go in the air, like, and then I'll always be like, okay, when Coach Seth gives you a high five, then it'll be your turn to score a goal. And you always have the one or two kids who, and you always want them at the blue beach, like waiting, and they'll always come running up to you, like they'll put their hand out and they'll be like, oh, let me get a, give me can I go first? Can I go first? Like, here, give me a high five. Give me a high five. And I'll be like, we'll see. Like, we'll see maybe. And then I'll intentionally have them go last, because I'm like, you gotta learn, like, you gotta learn to be patient and wait. And you're not gonna get what you want by begging for it. And while everyone else was listening to what I was saying about wait at the blue beach until Coach Seth comes around and gives you a high five. So yeah, I mean, you already brought that up though, so I just kind of wanted to add a little my own personal twist onto it, because that's kind of what I intentionally do
That's awesome.
on Soccer
That's awesome.
Island. So
well, I mean, for our listeners out there, the blue beach, we're not actually at the beach on water. So
yes, sorry, that might have been
Seth is
confusing.
referring to the kids are safe out there. But
Yes,
as you were
yes.
talking, you ran a marathon in January, I think, right? And you had
Yes, I did.
a lot of resilience, because if you had run 1 mile every day, that would have been easy, but you never would have gotten the thrill of finishing the marathon, right? And
that's a great example. Yeah.
Anything in life is kind of that thing. I know we've had a school psychologist chime in there. There's a famous study about the marshmallow study, and where you're teaching the kids delayed gratification. If you can have 1 marshmallow now, or 2, if you can wait 15 minutes, you have that second marshmallow. And they track the kids for years, and the ones who learn how to wait generally went on in life, and whatever that success means, but we're generally more successful. So I think that we, especially in a society now where we have instant everything, teaching kids at the youngest age that, the old expression, good things come to those who wait, but I would say good things come to those who wait and have resilience and are willing to work hard.
Right.
So if we can get that a little bit out there, and really, we have them 45 minutes a week. So, we're just trying to help the parents. Well, we know parents and families are trying to do also. So if we can kind of reinforce what they're trying to do.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yep. I agree with that. I think that is great. That was definitely a tough question, but I think we both nailed it right there. That was awesome. So
is this 60 minutes with Seth?
Feels like it. But we do still have a few more questions to go, so let's get to the next one here. Question number 6 here is this could be a little tough, tricky question, but I think we got this one here. So, how important is positive reinforcement in shaping a child's self-belief during our soccer sessions? I think we've touched on this a bit already, with the positive reinforcement, but go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, well, massive. Obviously, I would say positive reinforcement is infinitely more important than negative feedback.
Yeah.
And I think it creates the confidence. It creates a path for them to learn. And again, you get back to the marshmallows example or what have you. That those little steps along the way in changing their self-belief, right? And what you talked about, positive reinforcement. Imagine a scenario where you're 3-4 years old and they're dribbling it wrong and you're doing it wrong. You got to do it like this. Versus, hey, love the way you're keeping it close to you. Love the way you're moving it forward. That's awesome job. Imagine two different mindsets. You're trying to get the same message across, but in two different ways, right?
Yep.
And people say, well, positive reinforcement is too soft and all this. Well, if you're bringing challenge, then it's not, right? So if you're bringing challenge to them, and positive reinforcement is legitimate. It's just not positive reinforcement for the sake of it. They're really accomplishing something.
Yeah.
And that goes back to some of the other areas you hit about resilience. I mean, what we all want to create is that self-belief that you can accomplish things, what you want to accomplish. And I know me as a former player and all these things, I think most of us respond more often than not to positive reinforcement, so long as it's not, for just a pat on the head for the sake of patting on the head kind of thing. But yeah.
No, I agree with that for sure. Yeah, I mean, I really think positive reinforcement is key, especially in the age groups that we do. And I think, just being able to shape their self-belief, giving them that confidence, like with everything we do, with the words we say to them, like, hey, like, good job, Jimmy, like, let's go, like, you're doing great, like, great dribbling, great control, great pullback, whatever. And then also, with high fives, fist bumps, I think those are also key reinforcements to let them know that, like, hey, you are special, you do matter to us, like, we want to see you succeed and really have that belief in yourself. So I really do think at the age groups we work with, like, all those little positive reinforcements that we can do, and that I always see all of our soccer shot coaches doing out on Soccer Island, can really help with that self-belief and confidence. So
I go a lot of at the younger ages. What's the point of negative reinforcement? Most of the time they don't know that they're doing it wrong. And if you lead with if you lead with negative, and I've seen this. You set a kid back a few weeks. You've discouraged them, which makes them not want to come back. It's harder at that age to come back from these negative sort of self-beliefs. They've had these short lives, and their first time as coach, and you're going to give them negative feedback on something they didn't know. I'm not sure what's the point of that if you're trying to create self-belief. Now you get into older, any player knows they're doing something wrong, whether it's pushing a kid or something like that, or safety. As you were talking, I was struck by, I've made mistakes here as a coach where I've been negative, and then they're discouraged for the rest of that session, and then they're discouraged to come back to the next session. It's made it harder for me as a coach. It's made it harder for the kid to learn. So I would say, positive reinforcement is key. Massive. And I think it's coaches, our instinct as coaches is to correct rather than teach.
Yes, I really liked what you said at the beginning there, where it's like, especially at this age group, like, they don't know they're making that mistake. Like, it's not like you were just saying, like, you're with a U15 team and they don't do a cutback right or something, like they know what they're doing, like they unlike the kids we coach here, like, this is their first time, like they don't know, they have no idea, they might think they're doing it right, they've maybe never even heard of the move. Most of them never do. So there's no point in that negative reinforcement, like you were saying, for sure, especially at such a young age when, like you said, we're trying to teach them, trying to, help them learn from their mistakes because they just don't know. So
Yeah. Yeah, soccer, not to get too, soccer is life, right? And so,
yep.
we both watched the game yesterday, Barcelona and Inter, and there's a 17-year-old for Barcelona who,
Yeah.
what
Incredible.
do you want? Yeah, right. And what do you want? Great soccer players take chances. They take risks. That's what
Yeah.
we encourage them to do.
Right.
And if you're killing that, at the end of the day, yes, we're training great kids, but also some of them are going to be pretty good soccer players. They're not going to be good soccer players by not taking chances out there.
Right.
And imagine, you pick the player. Someone said, you know what, you're dribbling a little bit off of Soccer Island. You better get back here. Well, tell that kid one day is going to be a great soccer player because they love to run. Applaud them for their running. Can they run back over here?
Right.
So
Exactly.
all those little examples. They don't know they're not supposed to go off Soccer Island. They're just running, right? They see
They're
a
just
field of
going.
grass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that's a great thing.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Yeah, and just short little story. I had a group like that once, and they just, I mean, it's got to be, and it was just crazy. These kids did not know, they did not care, nor were they interested, and I could have fought it. And so we just started running. We went to this tree to that tree, and it began. We would take our soccer balls and we go. It was the biggest soccer island we ever had,
Yeah.
and they had fun. But now when you play the real game, okay, the rules of the game, we got to stay on soccer island. But
Right.
those that positive reinforcement, applaud the running, and then say, bring the challenge out how you can run. But that's what makes coaching fun.
I agree. No, that was great. Great answers again. Love it. Absolutely love it. Now let's move on to our next question here. So question 7, what role do small victories like learning a new skill or scoring a goal play in building long-term confidence? We've touched on this as well. So
yeah, I mean, I think we've hit on it, right? So I think one of the things sometimes newer coaches struggle with is, you alluded to the pullback. The pullback is really a process. It's a process of learning how to dribble, learning how to put your foot on the ball, learning how to roll it behind you, keeping it close. So there's a lot of, there's the pullback, but there's those small victories in between. Celebrate those small victories in between. Also, because when you break it down, a pullback's got a lot of elements. You got to keep that ball closer. You got to move it. You got to pull back, and you got to turn around and change directions and go find your ball. This is an amazing thing that they can do.
Right.
So all those little things. Yeah, I mean, we touched on it quite a bit, but creating that inquisitiveness to learn, and so whether they take it through soccer or somewhere else, but beginning to understand all the little elements that take place. And I often talk about the example of multi-sport athletes who maybe are not confident in one sport or having a bad day, but they might be a wrestler also, so they're getting confidence in another sport that they're bringing to soccer. Or maybe part of our job is, hey,
Right.
we create some confidence here that they can bring to another part of their life where maybe they're not as confident, kind of thing. Imagine a kid who's, I don't know, scared of horses and got horse riding lessons or whatever, and they're really scared, but they discover they can do it and they can achieve something on soccer line. And we create a mind, maybe they can take some sort of confidence over to whatever other activity that they might be doing. So
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. Yeah. Don't really have too much to add to that. What you said was great there. Yeah, those small victories really are important. I mean, just especially, we have like 8-week seasons here. So over the course of the season, just like, the more small victories they rack up, whether that's they continue to score that goal, they learn that new skill, everything in between, like you were talking about. It's just going to continue to grow their confidence throughout the entire season. And yeah, really, really
Yeah,
get that confidence going for the long term. So small
yeah,
victories are huge. They're
yeah.
huge.
I know your next question is about parents supporting their child's confidence through sports, but you just made me think of something that maybe leads into that
Yeah,
question.
absolutely.
You know, your question is around how parents can support their kids' confidence through sports, even if
Yeah, let's
the
hop
child's
into
not
that
the most,
question now. Let's do it.
even if the child is not the most talented player. And it made me think that imagine you're running a soccer shot session and it's a pullback, challenging the kids to, all right, next week I want to see your best pullback, right? And I want you to practice all week and then come back and show Coach Steph your best pullback. So you've created something that they can go work on themselves, and a parent family can go support. Hey, I look, Coach Steph taught me the pullback. I want to show it to you, and I want to practice that this week. And the parent gets an opportunity to practice with their kid and support their
Yeah.
confidence in their journey. Um, but
Right.
if your child is not the most talented, kind of where you began this, in terms of teamwork, I think is an interesting one. Is there's a lot of ways to be a supportive. You may not be the most technical player, but you can be a leader and be the most encouraging player. You can support your kid through all kinds of. It takes many different things to be a good soccer player and a good soccer teammate. Whether that's being encouraging, whether that's being a role model for listening, whether that's being someone who tries really hard and all those things. And so I would say support them where they are and understand their journey and understand that it's not a straight line. It is not a straight line.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think I often see parents, oh, my kid is not here, he's not here, he's not here. That's not the way it works. It's they're here, they shoot up here, they may come down here.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times
Yeah.
when they shoot down, it's because somebody is getting on their confidence. Somebody
Right.
is beating them down. They're taking the joy out of it. Just go out and play. There's a great story about Kyle Martino, who's a great U.S. men's national team player and commentator. He spoke at a Soccer Shots convention one year, and he talked about when he was 16, 17, he just completely lost his confidence in the love of the game. And he went back to playing for his high school team, Staples High School here in Connecticut, and just played and got out of it all because he loved playing with his classmates and his teachers and his friends and the
Right.
sheer joy of playing. And then, I think a Gatorade National Player of the Year, and then went on from there to the national team, but got back to the joy of the game. So I'd say parents, it's a game. They're playing. It's play, and let them learn through play.
I agree.
And resist the urge. I don't think we've got one parent or family member who's a national team player. And so,
yeah.
let the kids play, let them enjoy the game. And there's so many, not as about me, but I know I've told you this, Steve Nash, who's a great basketball player,
Yep.
2-time NBA MVP. My son is actually coaching his 10-year-old kid, right? And my son,
you did mention that. Yeah, that's crazy.
And Steve Nash shows up at a practice, and my son is all strong, couldn't run practice. And I said, well, how is he as a dad? He says he's just quiet, picks him up, doesn't say a word, and lets him get on. And he said his kid is now getting so good, and he said just leaves him alone. And that if Steve Nash can do that, leave the kid alone to let him play.
Yeah.
I think he knows a little bit more about basketball than any of us know about soccer, or certainly
Right.
parents. So
Yeah.
You want to get them to be confident, get the love of the game, and then everything else take care of itself.
Yeah, everything else will just follow. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Don't have much to add on to that because that was great. I mean, I'll just say for parents, like, listen, your kid is there. There's a very good shot that your kid is not going to be the next Lamine Yamal, but that is okay, parents. That is okay. Like you were saying, Shannon, they need to just play and enjoy the game. As a parent, I think the best thing you can do is, even if they're not even if they're not as talented as their friends at the same age, just support them. Just be happy they're out there socializing, they're on a team, they're participating, they're active. They're not inside, on their phones, whatever, playing Fortnite. Like they're out there, they're getting active. Like, okay, yeah, they're not as talented as maybe you would have wanted them to be, but guess what? It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. They're there to play, they're there to have fun, and you don't want to take that joy away from them, because then they're never going to want to play again. So always support them. They have plenty of years to, work on skills, whatever. But as a parent, do your due diligence and just be that strong support system. So
Well said. I mean, I hate to be the guy, get off my lawn guy, but you know, the parents who are correcting their kids during a practice that need to practice like this, the most important thing they can do
yeah,
is let them play and stay out of the way. And if they make up their own rules and they have some creative way to do that, that's great. They're thinking, they're executive function, they're making teams or what have you, and they're
yep,
owning it. So
yep,
let them own the journey, and you support the journey, and ask questions. First question I used to ask my kids is, did you have fun? First thing at walk off the field, did you have fun? And
exactly, yeah,
not
without
not
a
getting out
doubt.
the salt and pepper shakers at the at the Olive Garden, and oh, you could have done
Yeah,
this and could have done that. Did you have fun?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
kids have generally forgot about the game 5 minutes later. They just
Right.
want to go they want to go have more fun. They don't want to roll. They've already heard an adult telling them.
Yeah,
So
they don't want to hear
yeah,
it. Yep.
they don't want to hear it.
No, that was great. Agree with all of that. Let's move on here to our next question. So this one's kind of more tailored just for you. I just because you obviously have been doing soccer shots a lot longer than I have. You've been involved with it more. So I don't know if you've just heard stories or have seen it firsthand. I don't know, but I'm curious. Have you seen confidence gained from soccer shots kind of like spill over into other parts of like a kid's life, whether it's like school or friendships? I mean, obviously you're not there with them when they're hanging out with their friends or when they're at school, but like maybe you've seen a kid later in life, and you know I don't know. I'm just curious if you
Yeah,
got any
that's a
stories
great.
about that.
I I I I occasionally run into now we're talking about one, how long I've done this, two, how old I am. But occasionally I've run into a kid who's now maybe 16 or 17, um, and whether they're playing or not is less important to me than how they are as kids,
Right.
as young adults. So I they remember. We talk about this a lot. They remember. I'm always struck by that they remember me 10 years later.
Right.
And it's
Right.
pretty incredible. So now understanding what did they take away. But yeah, I hear, the one thing I love is kind of, you get back to your shy kids. I think, to watch a shy kid be confident in talking to an adult, their coach, they're talking to an adult.
Right.
They went from shy, barely able to come on Soccer Island, to, I think, Mason, you were describing, who's now
Yeah.
confidently talking to adult at 4 years old. That's a
Yeah.
pretty good thing. So I
Right.
guess you spill it over there. Maybe that kid goes to talk to their teacher. Maybe that kid goes to what have you. But there's a couple of families I follow they became friends on Instagram. Their kids are now in the band or all these things, and parents say, man,
Yeah.
they love soccer shots, and they got them into this kind of thing. So um, yeah, you hear those things. One of these days we should get a parent on here from years ago, and
Yeah.
hear their impact of their kid. Or maybe we can get a kid on here,
Yeah. Right.
16, 17. So yeah,
Absolutely. No, I
yeah,
no, that's great. It's always just great to hear like the impact that we have at Soccer Shots on kids, and not just when they're kids, but in their later years in life too, and it just a lasting impact is how I like to look at it. So
Yeah, a
um,
lasting impact. And Seth, you're an athlete. I think as athletes as well, we know this. We know that the habits of working hard to run a marathon, for example, those
mm,
things will translate into other areas. And you
right.
know, um, if you want to be a great golfer, the habits of practicing and enjoying it. We
Yeah.
as adults, we know this translates to other things. And you
Right.
know, I'm thinking of female athletes now, and women who grow up playing sports often are more confident in other areas. Studies have shown this, less body issues and all kinds of things. So their identity is not wrapped up in one thing. They're moving on to other things and feeling confident about being a whole person. So we know this, and so maybe I don't have a top of. I'm sure it's happened, and I have kids. I've seen it with my own kids, but
Yep.
yeah, it's the most important thing we do. I just love this, Seth. I love this whole topic,
Yeah.
and how you started. What does confidence mean? And
Hmm.
if our mission, we're creating confident people, or helping to create confident people. We just happen to do it through a soccer ball.
Yes. Yes. No, I love it. I think our mission here, it's just really all about building that confidence um in our soccer players and our youth here, and really being able to shape their lives for the better. So that was great. And we're gonna lead into the last question here, which is, if you had one message here, or let me rephrase that, I guess, what is one message you'd want every young soccer player to hear about believing in themselves? If you had one message to end us off here.
Yeah, I'm gonna uh, not to oversimplify, but I'll talk about the physically able kids. I'll say you didn't know how to walk either,
Mm,
and now you know how to walk. And you
I
fell
like
down,
that.
you fell down, you fell down, you fell down. In fact, I was with a group of kids today. These kids, I can't do it, I can't do it. Well, you couldn't walk either. And your mom
I
watched you
like
fall down, your
that.
dad watched you, and you fell down every day for at least 365 days,
Yep.
probably. Is it hard to walk? But you just kept trying. And I think it's so funny, kids' reaction when they hear that. One, they didn't know. They just assume they've been walking their whole lives. But that's what I want. You kept trying, and now you believe you can walk.
Yep.
And so just believe when you fall down, you're going to be able to walk again, or however you do that. So that would be the message I would want to hear. And you got confident, and now you're a pretty confident walker, runner, and all those things. Yeah. So
Yeah. No, that is a great message. I really like that. For me, if I had to give one message here, um, to our young soccer players about believing in themselves, man, my message would just be I would just say, don't give up. Don't give up, because you'll regret it. Do not give up, no matter how difficult it gets. Um, I mean, practice really does make perfect. Yes, as a young athlete, you are going to get very, very discouraged that you can't do this. I can't do that. I can't. And that's another thing. Stop saying I can't. Stop saying I can't and start saying I can. And okay, because that's just really important to me. And I even went through that in my own personal life. I've gotten discouraged plenty of times where I've wanted to give up. I wanted to quit the team, and but don't do that. It's you're gonna regret it. It's not gonna do you any kind of benefit in your life. Like it's gonna show that you're a quitter, that you're not resilient, like we were talking about earlier. And um, I really think that's something young players need to learn, is just to not give up. Believe you can do it. You work hard enough, you can do it. So that's what I'd like to leave our young viewers with. That
yeah,
so
and some of our not so young viewers. I love that.
Yeah.
I think we should do a whole thing around resilience and growth mindset and that kind of thing. So
I agree.
I know we're bumping up against time, but I'm starving to say some stuff.
No, I agree. We're definitely gonna have more episodes where we can talk about that for sure. Hopefully, our viewers enjoyed this episode and would love to hear more, kind of surrounding this topic about confidence and growth mindset, resilience, determination, all of those great qualities. So. But yes, unfortunately, we are kind of running out of time here. So we are going to wrap it up. But I thought that was great. I thought the answers to those questions was just fantastic. So great job with that. And as we do with every podcast, Shannon, how can listeners find more information or get involved with Soccer Shots?
First thing you need to do is subscribe to the Soccer Shots Greater Hartford, Central Connecticut
That's
podcast
right.
on YouTube.
Yes.
And you do that. Do nothing else but do that.
Hit that subscribe button. Come on, people.
Our 200th subscriber will get free Soccer Shots swag.
Ooh, I like that.
And then you can always visit our website at soccershots.com and go to Connecticut and find locations, and our email ct@soccershots.com. So, and find us on Facebook and social media. So, would love to have you. And if you know of a place where you want to do Soccer Shots, we'll come do it.
Absolutely.
But, Seth, let me just thank you. I thought you're this is such a great topic, and
thank you.
Really primed the motor, and it was. It got me thinking about just things in my own life about being confident and that kind of thing. So a big onion here, and I know we didn't peel away all the layers, but some great questions.
Yes. No, thank you. That means a lot. I do appreciate that. This was a topic I'm very passionate about and means a lot to me because I'm not afraid to admit it, but I did not have a lot of confidence growing up. It took me a very long time to build up my confidence. And I still, to this day, wouldn't say I am the most confident person I can be. I still think there's things I need to work on. So talking about this in the open is something I love to do. So I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. So
I want to acknowledge that share too. So thank you.
Yeah. Yes, of course. So thank you, everybody. We are going to wrap it up here. We
got to go watch PSG and Arsenal, Seth. We got to get out of here.
We do. Yes. The next Champions League game is on. Definitely tune in. It's going to be a great game. So, but we want to thank you all for watching. We really hope you guys enjoyed the third episode of the Soccer Shots Greater Hartford, Central Connecticut podcast. If you liked the video, please give it a like. Comment what soccer-related topics you would like us to talk about next. And most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This is Seth and Shannon signing off. And remember to always enjoy the beautiful game.